So out here at my dad's uncle's farm. Never really got a chance to get out here earlier this year to try and work up this and plant. I wanted to originally plant corn because the farmer here has all corn. This would have been the year to do it. But pretty much all my plots again this year will be brassicas, and then I plan on doing this plot and maybe 2 other ones into soybeans next year. That'll be the first year I ever try a grain food source out here in these smaller plots. This field, along with one over there, I got like multiple brand new plots this year, and then also the existing current one in the center of the property that we've planted for probably 4 or 5 years now. Anyways, I'll show you what this looks like. Pretty rough. It's going to take a lot to work this up. So this is about a ½ acre plot. It goes up that way, and there's an old like farm trail that used to go up towards the corner of this field up here. So it keeps going down that way, but I got some brush piles down there that I got to burn off. That's another probably 1/8 to 1/4 acre. And then this whole area right here is almost a ½ acre. I mean, pretty marginal. It's not going to grow that good in this oak, but in the future I am going to definitely get some clover in here in these shadier spots and stuff. But this year it's going to be pretty much primarily brassica. For the last it's probably been like 50 years since any of this ground has been worked up. The last time it's probably been planted was honestly probably my great-grandpa, like way back when this was a small field right here. This is all cow pasture and small field like years and years ago. And this corner has always been a little bit more open. There was some big trees that me and my great uncle cut out over the last 2 years, some box elders, and there was a few of them right in here, so there's some big stumps that I'm gonna have to go around. Probably, you know, forever. It's gonna take over 10 years for that to fully decompose, where you could just disc it right up. But like some of these smaller stumps, I would imagine in about 2 to 3 years, just running the disc over this and starting to rot out, it'll just rip it right up. But some of these bigger ones, it's gonna be 5 to 10 years before that's pretty well rotted. So a lot of this was all canary grass. You can see some of this stuff starting to grow back. I'm gonna mow it all down today and maybe start disking later. We've had pretty good amount of rain this past week, on and off, light rains, and then last night we probably got a solid ½ inch or so. So that should actually help, as long as it doesn't plug up the disc. It'll help. This ground is loose, it's not super dry, so the disc should sink in a little better and actually rip some of this up pretty nicely. I already plan on coming back and spraying this whole plot with clethodim when the brassicas are up, because I know, you know, mowing and disking is not going to kill this canary grass that's starting to come back. And I had killed off a lot of it and burned off some. You can see where the fire burnt off some of these areas like a couple weeks ago. So that's what this plot looks like. I got another plot way over there by the road, about the same size, brand new spot. I'll show you that one when I get over there to start disking. And then I'll show you our Paul Park plot up that way, we call it, right in the center. So that one is the plot the existing plot. All right, so this is the existing plot. I've made a few videos planting this plot over the years out here. This, like I said, for many years, this was the only plot, and it was amazing how many deer this plot would attract when the brassicas actually grew good. You know, in December and January, I mean, it was just amazing having one plot with, you know, hundreds, you know, roughly a couple hundred acres of cover and bedding all the way around here, including multiple neighboring properties. This was the only food plot in this whole square mile. And this food plot, along with these other ones I'll be planting, are pretty much the only food plots that I know about, looking at aerial, you know, view. None of the neighbors really plant anything around here. So, like I said, last year the brassicas kind of got flooded out, didn't really do the best. I'm going to have a clover edge. About half of this is going to be clover, so I can come in here and mow like a nice edge right here. We have a tree stand in that big oak. So a lot of this food plot on these far edges is kind of out of range. And then where this grass came in real bad, must have missed that spot spraying. And around my vine here, and then going up along this way, will be clover. So roughly roughly 1/3 of this plot will be clover, and that'll hopefully come in good, and I can kind of just maintain it, and hopefully it'll last 3, 4, maybe 5 years. So I'm gonna get this fertilizer spread. I just spread fertilizer on those other 2 plots, and start mowing down some of this stuff. And this field doesn't have much to mow down, but the other 2 do. Anyways, I'll try and get some footage of planting these 3 fields, and see if I can make a video out of it by the end of the year. So all right, so I'm in the spot out here by the road. It's not really next to the road. The road's just over that way, about 100 yards. You can't, it's pretty well screened off, other than this horse farm field right here, and then our big field right here. So it's pretty much wide open, but you can't really see the road. And it should be some pretty good dirt. It's some high ground here. It's always been separated from the field here, with some lowland right in here. Once again, like I said, first year plot. This was all a lot of grass, a few small brushy trees growing out here, and goldenrod. So it should work up, but it's going to take a little bit. I didn't really get the best kill on some of these patches in here that are kind of green, so this area will obviously work a little harder. So yeah, let's get disking. I got a little section that I'll go over there. And then a lot of this was just too wet to even attempt to spray off and work up. Alright, so this is what I'm going to be using for seed. Pretty much a mix of all 5 of these. Antler King's Honey Hole and Whitetail Institute Wintergreens. Those are the 2 blends I've used the most. I pretty much used up all my wintergreens that I had bought for the year on other plots. So I got some Honey Hole left. This is, you know, kind of a, I would say a cheaper variety. It's got 50% Dwarf Essex Rape. So that's why I'm mixing it with some of these other Domain products. The last couple of years, these Domain products are pretty, have some pretty interesting blends of Brassica. They got like some Purple Top Rutabagas, Winfred Rape, and obviously about 10% Purple Top Turnip. This is just your straight normal tillage radish. An awesome, probably the best variety for September and early October. And then this Wingman mix has some purple kohlrabies and, you know, a lot of kale. And this one even has some Ethiopian cabbage, some forage collards. So just some interesting, you know, different varieties of brassicas. And, you know, you could count up all these varieties. It'll probably easily be over a dozen. So I'm gonna pretty much put an even mix of all of it in here in all 3 of these plots. So let's get seeding. All right, it's been like 2 years since I disked this, and probably 4, maybe 5 years since I cut down some of these buckthorn. And as you can see, just rotting away. Eventually, you'll be able to just disc them right up. Like this one, I haven't even gone over yet. Gone. Pretty big one right here. It's gonna take a couple more years for that one to come up. But like these ones, just completely blown apart, rotted away. All this stuff. There was a whole bunch, this whole entire food plot, basically from where the tractor's parked and that box elder scrape tree. This, you draw an imaginary line like right through there. This whole side over here used to all be buckthorn and brush about that size. And there was a couple trees in here that were bigger. Look at all these stumps. There was a lot of water hemp and broadleaf weeds you can see. So I'm gonna hit this a couple more times with the disc when I get these stumps out of here. Hopefully, this is definitely the wettest plot out of all the areas and the weediest plot. I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of weeds that start to fill in after a week or two after I plant this. So these brassicas may or may not turn out. We'll see. They might get overtaken with weeds. And this plot's just too wet to get in here and try and plant like corn or soybeans in the spring, or even like buckwheat, so I can do a no-till brassica planting and get less weeds. But it's just too wet usually to till in here anytime in May or June. So this is what I'm left with. That's why this whole side over here, I'm gonna plant clover closer to the stand. And then next year I might end up coming in here and planting the rest of it into clover. We'll see how the brassicas turn out. So, all right, so first update on these plots out here at my dad's uncle's place. We've had an unbelievable amount of rain in the last 2 weeks. So it looks like on that far end down there, there's a small section that might have got somewhat flooded out. I haven't walked over to the other side over here, but I'll do an update tonight on all 3 of these spots, and then I'll probably have one more update in this video. All right, so it's looking pretty good. Some areas actually probably too thick. You can see some of this grass is coming back. This is all like turf grass, and maybe out there in certain areas canary grass. None of this is like foxtail. You see a lot of velvets coming in. This is going to be an issue. Those will obviously continue to grow for another month, so those could get pretty bad. So you can see in some of these lower areas, I didn't get the greatest kill on this canary grass before I disked it all up. Some of this grass was green, so I knew it was going to come back. You can see these brassicas are stunted here because it's probably just wetter here. I guess there is some shade here too. So I'm going to come through here and spray probably the whole plot, or especially where these grasses are, with just straight clethodim today. It'll at least clean up these areas. It ain't going to help with any of the broadleafs, obviously. I've never actually had to do this, spraying out grasses in my brassica plots. And then that other plot over there by closer to the road, way over there on the other side of this field, I would imagine there's probably some bad grass patches in that plot too, because there was some greenery like this when I disked it all under. So it should, I mean, it's a pretty big difference between these brassicas and these brassicas out here, where the ground worked up better, where the grass was dead. Let's go take a look at around this corner. I planted the other far half of this plot. I didn't get any footage of that. That was planted like a week, probably 2 weeks after all this. So over there and around the corners where I just was, this whole area over here, I had a couple brush piles I had to burn off in here before I could disc it up. So that's why this couldn't get planted the same day as the rest of it. That's also why these brassicas are a little bit smaller. Same thing over here, lots of weeds starting to come up. As it goes down this way, it gets pretty wet. So I don't see hardly any brassicas growing in here. So I might just seed some more in, but it might be too late because there's already a bunch of weeds coming up. I would imagine some of these got flooded out I mean, we had like a 5-inch rainfall event here just like about a week ago, or week and a half ago now. There is brassicas in here, but I tell you what, I had them seeded a lot thicker than this. This is all the tillage radish coming up. All the other ones, forage rape and kales, I don't see hardly any of them right here. Right here's one. So this ground is pretty wet in here. It doesn't help when you get extra rainfall too. I didn't think we'd get a crazy rain event like that, but there'll be some food here. But I would imagine these weeds, whatever they are coming up, are going to choke out a lot of this stuff. So next year I plan on putting clover in here, so at least I'll be able to spray it with 2,4-DB and clethodim to keep the weeds under control. The brassicas was just a first year to break ground, get this soil worked up, and next year I'll come in here and till it up again and put in clover. So I think what I might end up doing is seeding a lot of winter rye in here, depending on how this turns out. The rye might not even do that good either because the weeds are coming in so bad. So we'll see what it looks like about 3 weeks from now, or a month. It'll probably be a weed fest. Alright, I'll take you over to that next plot. Hopefully that one looks a little better. And then I'll show you the one out there by the road last. That one should probably be the best because it's pretty much all high ground. Alright, here's the second spot. This is the spot. I'm not sure if I said this in the video yet, but this left-hand side here, I put the clover in really thick. Clover's coming up. And I do have scattered soybeans mixed in this whole plot. I'm surprised they look as good as what they do, considering there's like 60 acres of corn of tillable right here. And then the neighbor's fields over that way, there's like another 20 acres of corn. And there's just corn everywhere. The closest soybeans are probably almost a mile that way. I cannot believe. So that's a really good sign. So I probably will try and plant soybeans in here next year if it's dry enough to get this tilled up. I've just had brassicas, and now I got some clover over here. I want to be able to try and rotate something else in here, but you can see all these soybeans right here that got nipped off. So it's not like none of them got eaten, but the ones that didn't get nipped off, they're kind of leaving them alone right now. So those things should stay green all the way until we get a frost. They're not going to produce anything for pods. And the deer are going to have all this water hemp, unfortunately. There's a lot of weeds in here. They love eating on that water hemp. That'll stay green probably till we get a frost too. The brassicas look pretty piss poor, honestly. I don't see hardly anything down in here. I see way more soybeans than brassicas. So you can see we got some brassicas right in here. It's because it's a little bit drier right here. As it goes down this way, I don't know, maybe 6 inches lower in elevation right over here, the brassicas just get smaller and get thinner and thinner. And then you get over here, especially in these low spots here, I'm not seeing anything. It's really interesting to see how much better these soybeans do in this wetter ground. So if I can get this tilled up next year, this would be a nice little secluded soybean plot that I could actually get good soybeans to grow in here, especially with all the fields will all be soybeans next year. So it should, you know, definitely balance out the browse for sure. I mean, sure, they're still going to be in here because it's the first spot, one of the first spots they hit coming out of bedding. But these brassicas just do really pathetic in this wetter ground. They cannot handle any wet feet. And you can see there's just tons and tons of weeds that are going to fill this in. I mean, this will just be a solid mat of green weeds, couple soybeans, couple brassicas. But I really like how this clover's coming in. You can see where the clover is. This is all clover coming up. Right here it looks a little bit weaker because it is wetter right here too. This is all clover. It's kind of hard to see. I got soybeans mixed in with it all. But this clover will be really nice next year on the second year. It'll probably only get, man, probably barely ankle high. It's only got about a month of growth left. But these soybeans, hopefully they don't, I didn't think the soybeans were going to, I thought they were all going to get nipped off. I might even have them in here too thick. They might shade out some of this clover, but I'll just reseed some more clover in here next spring, obviously, if the soybeans do start to take over. Hardly seeing any browse in here. It's crazy. Yeah, it's not really looking the greatest, but it'll be something out here for these deer. And there's a heck of a lot of daylight activity in here, even when I didn't have a food plot here. So regardless, it's going to still be a good hunting spot, but it would have been nice to get a little bit better crop of Brassica in here, because these soybeans, they're going to be brown and gone. The same thing with all these weeds. They're going to be, I mean, they could be eating on these weeds right now, but pretty much after middle of October, there ain't going to be a whole lot of food in this spot, because these Brassicas are looking pretty bad. In 2023, when we had that dry year, I had unbelievable, like, knee-high Brassicas in here. It was crazy how dry it was that year. So, yep, I'll take you over to that last spot over there out by the road. Alright, so here we are in the third spot. As I predicted, this spot definitely looks the best. It still is kind of wet ground here. This, little canary grass and cattail section off the edge of the main field there. But surprisingly, these plants look really good. I didn't think it would look quite this good on this lower end here. Up on this hill, I haven't walked up there yet. I'm sure the whole plot looks pretty good because it's nice and well drained up there with all the rain we've had. Looking good. And there isn't nearly as many weeds coming up in this first year plot, unlike the first spot. I mean, there is weeds in here, but they're not really going to be an issue. You can see a little bit of a thin spot here that's got flooded right here. Brassicas are much smaller here. Because you can see I got some thin spots out there already. These Brassicas out here, this is too thin, but this is too thick. This is about perfect. I don't know if you can see that. On the left is about perfect because these Brassicas are going to continue to grow for another month, month and a half. This is all buckthorn, I think. Yeah, this is buckthorn coming up right here, I think. But yeah, overall it looks really good. No way! Just found a shed. An actual shed. I thought that might have been a snap-off because it's so small. That's, it's hard to tell if that was just from this spring. It could be from 2 years ago. That's crazy. Well, that was an added bonus, even though there's nothing to brag about. It's just pretty neat that I stumbled right up in here and found it right away. I probably wouldn't even have found that next year in the spring looking, because it's so small and the Brassicas would be so stemmy. And anyways, this looks really good. So and I'll have one more update of these plots probably in a couple weeks from now. All right, so here we are. It's September 21st. This will be the final update. I'm going to take you to all three of these plots. I think this is the last one I showed in the video. I'm not sure. But this is the one that ended up looking the best. It's the highest ground plot. The other two are kind of wet. And it almost looks too thick, but we're nearing the end of the growing season, so I don't think they're going to get too thick and start to choke themselves out. You know, where they start turning like yellow and purple and stuff, lacking nutrients. You can see this is about as thick as you'd want them. See, like right here, they're starting to turn a little bit of purple, and they always turn, you know, different colors like that, purple, yellowish, when they're lacking nutrients and overcrowding them. You can see a little bit of browse in here, but I don't expect much until, you know, probably November. I'll take you around and show you the other side up the hill over there. But from here, it all looks really good. And what I've noticed is when these brassicas are really tall like this, knee high or bigger, these deer don't even really want to walk through them. You can see they got a beat down trail right here on this edge. Right here's a tillage radish busted off. Oh, right there's a turnip. Right here's a pretty good sized turnip. That's like a softball. Maybe a baseball. You see they're walking right through here. Heavier browse along the edge. And right in this little patch right here is where it was the wettest in this plot. So that's why it looks a little weaker here. And then I had some pretty thin spots up on this hill, which could be good because these plants will continue to put on volume, not get overcrowded. Like up in here, you can see where this plant, this is obviously too thin. But this plant's out here by himself. Look at how big these leaves are. Over a foot long. And then you can see right in here where there's a thick patch. They're kind of turning purple and a little bit smaller sized plants. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but as you look across the plot, any area that's kind of lighter in color are the areas that are too thick, and these darker areas are the areas that these plants are a lot healthier looking, a lot more room to grow. But overall, it's going to be a pretty good food plot here. This will last these deer probably all the way, I would assume, into mid to late January. There's a pretty good number of deer around, so I'm sure they'll have pretty much all these cleaned up at some point during midwinter. Yeah, this is about a half acre almost. I'll take you over to the other plot, the other two plots next here. All right, so here we are. This is the wettest of the three plots. You can see on the left side here is all that clover coming in beautifully. And then on the right side here, this was just straight brassica and some late planted soybeans. All the other greenery in here is just weeds and grasses. This side up here, closer to the entrance, the brassicas look the best. It's like slightly higher, and it drops off like hardly anything, maybe like a couple inches in elevation to that back side over there, and they're just not doing that good. It was just too wet again. 2023, I had beautiful brassicas in this whole plot. It was just a drier year. I should mention I did seed in a bunch of winter rye in here right around the 1st of September, so there'll be some rye in here as well after they consume these brassicas, and there really ain't many brassicas in here. The ones that are in here are pretty small. It'd be nice if the whole plot looked like this. So this is definitely the worst of the three plots. The clover's coming in great though. Clover seems to be able to handle definitely wetter plots, wetter soil than the brassicas. And this was just planted right around, you know, late July, early August, and the clover's already about shin high in some of the best areas. Right in here, it looks really good. And I got soybeans mixed amongst everything. Surprisingly, on my camera here, I've only been getting like a doe and a fawn in here all summer. There's only been like one little 8-point buck that walked through here once. There's like hardly any deer on the property this year comparing to last year, because all the ag fields around here are all corn, where last year it was all soybeans. The neighbors too. It's just a pretty crazy difference this time of the year before, before we're getting closer to rut. The deer are still kind of in their summer ranges, and nothing has really shifted it into the area yet. And we got maybe a month yet of growth. Still some kind of warm days in the 70s and stuff, so these brassicas might continue to grow, and I don't know how big they're gonna get, but there's definitely some brassicas in here, and it'll obviously look a lot better once we get a couple killing frosts. It'll kill all these broadleaf weeds, kill all this grass, and all that's going to be left is my green rye and the green brassicas. It'll probably look a lot better a month from now than what it does right now, but overall still not going to feed a ton of deer because these brassicas are kind of small, but it'll be a plot. That's what it's here for. And I think next year I'm going to obviously leave my clover here. I'm going to try and get soybeans in here next year, because I was amazed how little browse there was on these soybeans. Look at this. This has only been nipped off with maybe one time, this soybean plant, and he's actually trying to put on some pods. And I didn't even throw that many in here. I threw maybe a bucket's worth, so kind of, I guess, a good amount, but there's still a lot in here. I mean, you start looking, there's soybeans in here everywhere. So I'm going to try and get some soybeans in here. I've never planted soybeans in here, and I've had pretty good luck on growing them on wetter ground. They seem to be able to handle wetter ground better than the corn, better than brassicas. So I'm going to try that next year in here. All right, I'll take you up to the last plot. That's a little bit larger plot as well. This one, I guess, is pretty good size too. This is only like maybe a quarter acre, maybe a third of an acre. So I was just showing you the other side over there of this same plot. I forgot to show you and mention this in the past, but this is the other side. There's a little drainage creek right here. It's dried up right now. It's not much of a creek, but this other side is really small. This is like a 1/10 of an acre over here, and I put this into solid clover. I got a few brassicas scattered in for diversity, but same thing over here. I've had brassicas here in the past, and certain years, certain drier years, they've done great. And like last year was too wet, they didn't do that good. And this clover just looks fantastic. And I've been struggling to see even a single leaf gone from these deer. There's just no deer using this right now. I don't know why. Like I said, last year when everything was beans, I was getting pictures of like 10 different bucks in this plot in daylight last year when my brassicas were just a complete failure. It was mainly weeds. So I think as soon as we start getting some colder nights and all the greenery and all the trees, all the forbs dry up and brown out and frost out, all the trees drop their leaves, these little clover patches in here will be green all the way till gun season. So this should be a heck of a draw at some point in the near future. So we'll see when that is, but I would assume sometime in October there'll start to be quite a few deer using these little plots. Well, here we are, final plot. This one looks fantastic, better than I thought. Like I said, it's been about 3 weeks since I've been out here, and this one looks like it's going to feed deer well into the winter. And I haven't even stepped into the plot yet. I'm already seeing some browse. And I got rye seeded in the weaker spots. Like, I didn't seed anything in the really good brassicas up there, but kind of on some of these edges and some of the thinner areas where it did get a little bit flooded out, I put a bunch of rye down that same day. This is probably the weakest spot of this whole plot, and it wraps around, goes to the left up there. I'll show you everything here in this last update. But yeah, this is looking fantastic. This is a first year plot too, just like that first plot over there on the other side of the field. But that second wetter plot, that one, like I said, I've planted for a number of years now. And the only reason this plot looks better is because it's just a little bit higher in elevation up there. Those brassicas are approaching knee high. Even down here in the shade, in the slightly wetter ground, they actually look better than the whole other plot I just showed you, the second one. So I'm getting up to these better brassicas here, and I did notice quite a bit of weeds coming in. They don't look bad, but there is quite a few velvets in certain patches up there. It's almost solid velvet right there. But yeah, these are all of knee high in here. Some of those thigh high. Just really nice big leaves. There's a bit of browse right there. Oh yeah, look at that. Just a ton of velvet right in this middle strip right here. So much that they're literally completely taking over, shading out everything underneath. But then I got good brassicas on that side along the corn and pretty good brassica right here. It keeps on going down this way, down this trail. So this back section here, I think I mentioned it in the last update. This was planted like, I think it was just 1 week later. It might have been a week and a half, I'm not sure exactly. But overall, it looks just as good. The brassicas have pretty much caught up. In certain areas over here, it actually looks better. I'd say there's actually less velvets. There's a lot more, there's still a lot of this stuff, but that's a shorter weed. It's not gonna affect much growth here, it looks like. And then down here is where it flooded out kind of bad. None of the brassicas did that good here. So I put the rye in super thick here, like grass. And that's what it looks like. It's coming in like as thick as a lawn here, which is really nice, filling in all this bare spot. Obviously this is gonna green all up next spring too. So this back section here, I was thinking about putting this into clover next year, but we'll see. I think I'll definitely put some of this between all this land. I'll put some of this into clover, but for this first year it was just good to break the soil and get something planted in here. Brassicas is a good start. And going up this way, there was definitely quite a few weeds coming in last time I was here, but whatever this stuff is, it's just really short. I don't really know what that weed is. It just stays short to the ground. So these brassicas are able to grow up past that, and it's actually looking pretty good, better than I thought down this trail here. I thought whatever this stuff was gonna really take over, but it's kind of staying shorter. Overall, this whole plot here, everything added up, I think is all of a half an acre. It might be 3/4 of an acre. You add all this up, but this is kind of shaded back in here, so whatever I plant here, clovers, I just heard a deer take off. Some browse right here. It's kind of shaded back in here, so if I plant clover, it should be about the only thing that would really thrive in this shade. It's not really super shaded. I mean, we got pretty good sunlight. That's why these brassicas are looking actually pretty okay. Going all the way up and around the corner back to the ag field. So yeah, this is looking like it'll be a good plot way into the winter. This should last at least till hopefully mid to late January.